A single red warning light began flashing across the glass walls of Ashcroft Dynamics just as hundreds of employees poured into the bright afternoon atrium for the company's annual Innovation Day. Laughter froze. Phones slipped from trembling hands. Security officers sprinted toward the entrance while a robotic voice announced that an unidentified explosive threat had been reported inside the headquarters. Then, in the middle of the confusion, the company's celebrated CEO, Meredith Caldwell, looked toward the elderly janitor quietly holding a mop near the lobby and laughed in disbelief. She tossed an old challenge into the frightened silence, telling him that if he could somehow save everyone from this impossible disaster, she would belong to him forever. Seconds later, the old bronze badge hanging unnoticed beneath his faded work shirt caught the sunlight. The laughter disappeared. 3 decorated generals who had just arrived for a defense partnership meeting instantly stood at attention. Without speaking a single boastful word, the forgotten janitor became the one man every powerful person in the building suddenly trusted. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing stories that inspire hearts around the world. Nobody in that magnificent glass building knew much about Everett Sloan except that he arrived before sunrise every weekday, greeted every employee with a warm smile, remembered birthdays better than the Human Resources Department, and somehow managed to keep thousands of square feet spotless without ever complaining. Young interns believed he had always been a janitor. Executives rarely noticed him except when they accidentally blocked his cleaning cart. Meredith Caldwell had inherited Ashcroft Dynamics from her late father and transformed it into one of the nation's most respected engineering companies. Brilliant, disciplined, and fearless in business, she had one weakness that she never admitted to anyone. She judged people too quickly. She admired achievement that could be displayed on a resume and often overlooked the quiet dignity of ordinary lives. The emergency announcement spread panic through the lobby. Employees were escorted toward secure assembly areas while law enforcement and military specialists coordinated with building security. Nobody knew whether the threat was real or a cruel hoax, but every second felt unbearably heavy. Meredith tried to maintain confidence in front of her staff even though fear had settled deep inside her chest. The generals attending the partnership event remained calm, carefully following established emergency procedures alongside the responding authorities. Then one of them noticed the weathered bronze badge resting against Everett's shirt. His expression changed instantly. He stepped forward with unmistakable respect, saluted the elderly janitor, and quietly addressed him by rank from many years before. An astonished silence swept across the atrium. Meredith stared as though the floor beneath her had disappeared. Employees who had barely acknowledged Everett suddenly realized they knew absolutely nothing about the gentle old man who emptied their trash cans every evening. Years earlier, Everett Sloan had served with extraordinary distinction in military explosive hazard response, dedicating his career to protecting lives during dangerous emergencies. When his service ended after a devastating injury, he refused every offer of fame, consulting contracts, and television interviews. The only thing he wanted was a peaceful life where nobody measured his worth by medals. After losing his wife Eleanor to illness and his only son in a highway accident several years later, Everett quietly disappeared from public attention. Cleaning office buildings gave him something priceless. It allowed him to help people every single day without needing applause. The generals never revealed confidential details about Everett's past. They simply made it clear that his courage had once saved countless lives under impossible circumstances. Meredith felt ashamed remembering her careless joke only moments earlier. What she had intended as nervous sarcasm had become a painful reminder of how easily people can humiliate those they fail to understand. The emergency response teams continued working according to their training, carefully assessing the reported threat while coordinating with local authorities. Everett never interfered with their responsibilities. Instead, he calmly shared everything he knew about the building's layout, maintenance tunnels, electrical systems, and recent deliveries because years of janitorial work had made him familiar with every corner of the property. His observations helped responders eliminate unnecessary confusion and safely guide employees away from areas still being inspected. Watching Everett remain composed transformed the atmosphere. Instead of surrendering to fear, frightened workers began helping one another. Managers comforted interns. Engineers carried supplies for elderly visitors. Receptionists reassured anxious families by phone. Hope quietly replaced panic. Meredith walked beside Everett as the evacuation continued under the afternoon sun. For the first time since becoming CEO, she asked about his life instead of giving instructions. Everett spoke gently about Eleanor's kindness, his son's laughter, and the difficult years after losing everyone he loved. He admitted that sweeping floors had never felt like failure because honest work always carried dignity. Every polished hallway reminded him that serving others did not require applause. Meredith listened with tears gathering in her eyes. She realized that while she had spent years building a powerful company, Everett had spent years building something far greater. He had built trust. Hours passed as authorities completed their investigation. Eventually, they confirmed that the reported threat had been a malicious false alarm. Although the emergency had caused enormous disruption, the careful response ensured that everyone remained safe. Relief swept across employees gathered outside the headquarters. People hugged co-workers they had barely spoken to before that afternoon. Children waiting with their parents laughed again. The bright daylight seemed warmer than it had only a few hours earlier. Meredith requested permission to address everyone before they returned inside. Standing on the front steps beneath clear blue skies, she looked across hundreds of employees and struggled to find the right words. Success had never made public speaking difficult, yet genuine humility felt unfamiliar. She admitted that she had laughed at a man whose life she never bothered to understand. She confessed that titles, expensive suits, and impressive offices had blinded her to quiet greatness. She apologized directly to Everett without making excuses or blaming the stress of the emergency. Every employee watched the proud CEO lower her head before the elderly janitor. Everett smiled with the same gentle warmth he offered every morning. He accepted the apology immediately because he believed forgiveness loses its beauty when delayed. He reminded everyone that fear often makes people say foolish things, but character is revealed by what they choose afterward. Meredith had chosen humility instead of pride, and that decision deserved grace. The apology changed far more than one relationship. Meredith launched a company-wide initiative honoring every employee regardless of position. Executives spent one day each month working alongside maintenance teams, cafeteria workers, receptionists, and custodial staff. Performance reviews began including acts of kindness, mentorship, and service instead of focusing only on financial results. Scholarships were created for the children of hourly employees. Quiet heroes who had spent years feeling invisible finally felt seen. Everett never accepted promotions or special treatment. He continued pushing the same cleaning cart through the same bright hallways with the same peaceful smile. The only visible difference was that nobody passed him without saying hello anymore. Engineers asked about his garden. Receptionists saved him a seat during company lunches. New employees heard stories about the humble janitor whose calm wisdom had helped guide everyone through the most frightening afternoon in the company's history. Several months later, Meredith unveiled a simple bronze plaque near the entrance where the emergency had begun. It did not describe military honors or corporate achievements. Instead, it carried a single message that every visitor could read before entering the building: never measure a person's value by the job they do today. The greatest courage often wears the simplest clothes. Everett stood quietly at the back during the dedication ceremony. He thought about Eleanor, who had always believed kindness echoed farther than fame. He imagined his son smiling with pride. For the first time in many years, the loneliness inside his heart felt lighter. He had never wanted recognition, but knowing that an entire company had learned compassion made every painful chapter of his past worthwhile. Before this story comes to its close, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us whether you believe every person deserves a second chance and whether you have ever discovered that someone you underestimated changed your life forever. As another sunny afternoon settled over Ashcroft Dynamics, employees returned to their work with different hearts than they had carried that morning. The building had not become extraordinary because of technology, wealth, or prestige. It became extraordinary because one humble man reminded everyone that respect should never be reserved for the powerful. True greatness is often found in quiet service, gentle forgiveness, and unwavering compassion. Meredith never forgot the lesson hidden behind an old bronze badge, and Everett never stopped proving that the strongest people are rarely the loudest. Sometimes the heroes who save us are not standing on a stage waiting for applause. Sometimes they are simply pushing a mop down a hallway, carrying extraordinary courage behind an ordinary smile. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May we all remember that kindness costs nothing, forgiveness heals wounds pride cannot, hope grows strongest in difficult moments, and every human being deserves to be seen not for the title they carry, but for the heart they quietly share with the world.